Hello and welcome to a tactical history of Liverpool. 10 days after getting knocked out of the European Cup by Ajax, it was time for Liverpool to get on with their league campaign. Their opponents back Christmas Eve were second place Chelsea. The last time we met Chelsea in episode 6 a year earlier, they were struggling in mid-table, with manager Tommy Docherty unpopular with many of his side after an incident the season prior. But Doc had very publicly punished several of his players after they broke curfew, going out for a few drinks in Blackpool. He sent home 8 of his regular starting 11, costing Chelsea their chance of the league in the process. A year later, 4 of those 8 punished players were gone. George Graham was sold to Arsenal, Terry Venables to Tottenham, and Barry Bridges and Bert Murray to Birmingham. They weren't the only men missing from a previous year's team, though. Tommy Robson had impressed on his Chelsea debut against Liverpool, but competing for a place with Bobby Tambling, he rarely got a look in, and so was sold to Newcastle. Another missing man who had impressed against Liverpool the season before was Peter Osgood. The teenager had broken his leg playing against Blackpool in October, and so wouldn't be seen again until the next season. With Joe Fascioni also falling out of favour, making just 3 appearances since we saw him in episode 6, Docherty had made 5 changes to the team that hosted Liverpool the year before. Right winger Charlie Cook was signed from Dundee, while Tambling had seen off competition for a spot from Robson, and Tommy Baldwin and Jim Thompson were both getting their first real runs in the side. With Osgood out for a long time, Docherty also spent big money on a replacement, signing Tony Hateley from Aston Villa for a club record £100,000. For this match, Chelsea would line up in a 4-2-4 shape. Whereas Chelsea had made big changes to their team in the intervening year, Liverpool would make just 1 change to the side they put out the previous December. Gordon Milne had been injured then, yet was now fit, but Jerry Byrne was ruled out this time around. Liverpool sent out the same team that had been knocked out of the European Cup by Ajax in a 4-2-4 formation. The conditions weren't exactly great for 2 teams who like to play passing football, as heavy rain the night before had turned the pitch into a bog.
Torrential rain last night, and tonight has made this pitch look rather like a paddy field or a Christmas pudding gone wrong.
That didn't stop them from trying to play along the ground anyway, though, and led to an interesting midfield battle. For Liverpool, Ian Callaghan would often tuck inside alongside Jeff Strong and Gordon Milne in midfield, while both Ian St John and Roger Hunt were happy to drop off the front line to join them too. Even Willie Stevenson was often tucking inside from left back into his more natural midfield position when Liverpool had possession. With so many players willing to come into the middle, Liverpool were able to outnumber Chelsea's midfielders and progress the ball. Ahead of them, Peter Thompson, quiet in the early stages of the game on the left, soon began to come inside into the centre. Thompson had been nullified out on the left by Chelsea having Jim Thompson and John Hollins double up on him. Thompson's ability to cut inside or go down the outside would usually trouble the opposition fullback, pointing his hips as if to go one way then cutting back in the other direction. This didn't trouble Thompson though. Rather than adjusting his feet wary of Thompson cutting inside, Thompson would maintain the same body shape to defend the outside, facing out towards the touchline. He was able to do this without Thompson simply punishing him by cutting inside, because Hollins would shift across the cover behind him, meaning that even if Thompson beat the fullback, he still had Hollins to get past. As a result, Thompson instead went roaming to get more involved. Chelsea weren't pulling quite as many players into the midfield as Liverpool, but they were using a similar strategy. Charlie Cook would come inside into the centre, as would Bobby Tambling further forward. Eddie McCready would also push forward from left back to join the attack. Like Liverpool, Chelsea would pass the ball forward, but they were more wasteful than the Reds once they got it into the final third. They often hit direct passes into the box that were so obviously telegraphed Liverpool could easily see them coming and repel them. Midway through the half, Liverpool would take the lead from a corner, when Marvin Hinton rushed back to attack the cross, but ended up heading it into his own net. Proponents of man marking will often talk about a running jump beating a static one, but that ignores that running jump is often towards your own goal. As Hinton's misfortune showed, it's not easy to contort your bodies to deflect the ball away from goal when you're moving in the opposite direction. After going behind, Chelsea became more direct, pumping the ball long rather than trying to pass it on the ground as they had before. Given the state of the pitch, it did make sense to play in the air, but it was strange that they waited until they had gone a goal behind to do so. Having taken the lead, Liverpool would be quite happy to sit back and deal with long balls, and rather than trying to tempt them out, Chelsea were playing into their hands. Chelsea also had Cook and Tambling switch wings. This saw Cook stay wider, helping to stretch play with direct running, while Tambling would drop deeper on the right to get more involved after a quiet start. Although they weren't creating high-quality chances, Chelsea were at least getting into the final third and putting Liverpool under pressure. Tommy Lawrence was having a very mixed game in this period. He made some great saves to maintain Liverpool's lead, but then he also repeatedly failed to claim crosses he was challenging for. Short for a goalkeeper, Lawrence didn't have the best build for catching these aerial balls, and his performance soon improved when he started punching them away instead. Shortly before half-time, Liverpool would double their lead when Jeff Strong shot from distance. He had a tendency to waste possession doing this, but the conditions were perfect for it here, hitting a nice low shot that bobbled in the mud just in front of Peter Bonetti and squeezed inside the post. Chelsea's midfielders John Boyle and Hollins opened up space ahead of him by dropping off to follow runs, and although Cook and Tambling were back to help out, both just let him push forward and shoot at goal rather than trying to stop him. Having solidified their lead, Liverpool were now happy to sit back and protect it, denying Chelsea the space to attack. Even Roger Hunt, the man typically leading the line, got back to help out in defence at one point. This was particularly noticeable in the second half, when several Chelsea counter-attacks broke down thanks to Liverpool keeping men back to provide cover, ensuring Chelsea couldn't stretch them effectively. There were several impressive individual performances by Liverpool's defenders. Ron Yates saved the day multiple times with great tackles, while Tommy Smith got a foot in or cleared the ball away when called upon, and Stevenson was again looking comfortable in his new role at left back. With Tony Hateley picking up an injury in the first half, he was replaced at half-time by Peter Houseman. Celebrating his 21st birthday, Houseman was full of running, but he was a winger rather than a natural forward, and would often drop off to join in deeper rather than leading the line. Without Hateley, Chelsea were left without a real number 9. With Liverpool dropping off and no Hateley to win aerial balls, Chelsea's direct play was unlikely to work, so they began to be a bit more considered again, playing into feet rather than pumping the ball long every time. This saw Cook get on the ball a lot more, allowing him to threaten Liverpool with his dribbling. It was thanks to Cook that Chelsea pulled a goal back. Cook picked up the ball off Tambling in midfield, dribbled past Stevenson, and sent Strong off in the wrong direction. This forced Yates into coming out to confront him, but the Scot slipped in the mud, and so Cook had the space to slip a lovely pass in behind the ball to run onto and finish. Cook wasn't the only winger to perk up in the second half, with Hollins having to get forward and join the attack as Chelsea searched for a goal, and also simply tiring as the game went on. He was finding it harder and harder to get back and help out Thompson, meaning Peter Thompson had more space to use his dribbling. By the end of the game, Liverpool were leaving Hunt and St John forward though, going long in a bid to catch out Chelsea on the counter as they saw out the game. Liverpool would hold out to claim the 2 points, putting them level with Chelsea with a game in hand, and 2 points off league leaders Manchester United. 2 days later on Boxing Day, they would leapfrog them to go top by beating them at Anfield, again winning 2-1. Chelsea would fade away in the league, ending the season in 9th, but they did at least make it to the FA Cup final. They would lose that too though, falling to Bill Nicholson's Tottenham. Going into the new year, Liverpool were in an excellent position to defend their league title. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to support the channel. You can get updates on what I'm doing by following on Twitter and Facebook, links are in the description, but most importantly by supporting Holding Midfield on Patreon. Without financial support, I can't justify the time it goes into making these videos, so we keep the channel alive while also receiving access to premium content. Thanks for watching.